Mission 6-8 broadcast where we serve justice, love mercy.
And walk humbly.
Yes, we do. I'm Brady Labe, and I'm joined today by my co-host Jackson Parnell. Say hi, Jackson.
Hello, everybody.
How's everybody doing today? We are currently recording this on September 12th, pretty late at night. We started a little late, so this should be running up on the 13th tomorrow on a Friday. I hope everyone is having a good day so far. We got a couple things lined up today. Of course, as we always do, we're going to be going into our Micah news first and foremost, some important dates, and then afterwards we're going to be talking a little bit about the aftermath of Hurricane Francine and its effect on New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and exactly how some of our senators and the governor is handling it. And then later we're going to be covering a LNG plant's donations to Cameron Parish public schools and how that's going to affect teachers' pay and some analysis on that. And then finally, we're going to be closing off with a paper published by 60 collective scientists that lay out our potential future for multiple different climate measurements, different scales, and exactly what their recommendations are on what we can do as a society to maybe redirect some of the harmful effects for every single demographic of person. All that is going to be on today's Mission 6-8, so I think we should just go ahead and jump right into it. So, let's start off with our Micah news. Some upcoming events. The September 15th is going to be the community meal, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Village. That's going to be pulled pork sandwiches. Yeah, come on by. I'm actually working it that day. I work at the Village, so I'll be there as a worker. Which pretty much just means I'm going to open the door. September 19th is a community education meeting. That's from 6 to 7. That's with Breon Robinson at the Sulphur Library, and it's going to be on the Lake Charles methanol. So it'll be educational. I should be able to make it to that one. I'm assuming that's a Thursday. Most of them, they're always on Thursdays, but even if it's not, it's September 19th. And then remember, September 27th and 28th is our health and environment, or not ours, but the Health and Environment Summit. Saturday is when I'm going. It's going to be 8:30 a.m. to 5:30. It's a panel discussion by local environmental organizations. Be there. That's for our Micah news. And then we also have today the real-time air reading, and right now it is a 27, which anywhere between a 0 and a 50 means the air quality is considered satisfactory and air pollution poses little or no risk. So good. Good news.
Nice.
All right. Are you ready to jump into our stories today, Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's start off with the hurricane. So I actually had a friend of mine come over and stay with me because he goes to LSU. So he was escaping the hurricane. It did, since the last time we were on the show, it was originally supposed to hit us as a Category 1, but it hit Baton Rouge and New Orleans as a Cat 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Yeah.
Cat 2.
Yeah.
It seemed like the majority of it was rain, mostly
Yeah.
flooding.
Mostly it was a bunch of flooding. I don't. Uh, at least as of right now, there's been no reported casualties from it,
No,
which
I
is
haven't seen
awesome.
that. I haven't seen any casualties. I did see someone on Twitter canoeing down the street, though. And then I also saw another one where there might be alligators
Yeah.
in the water, so that kind of scary. But other than that, there's a lot of people with their power out. There's about I think earlier today it was 40,000, but Energy's working on it. It's about 300K now. So overall recovery is going pretty well. We don't really know what has all been damaged so far. And what I'm most interested in is that Baton Rouge has a very similar industry over there as here. They have a lot of chemical plants too, like LNG plants. So because we deal with that because in Hurricane Laura, it wasn't safe to come back. A lot of the reason was because of the air.
Yeah.
So the hurricanes obviously are going to have an impact on the chemicals that those plants are holding. I'm sure some of it will get into the water, some of it will get into the air. So I am excited. No, I'm not excited. I don't want that to happen, but I would. We are going to try to cover that as soon as we can. But from a more federal standpoint, the one of the senators John Kennedy, he joined Governor Jeff Landry Thursday, um, to announce that the Louisiana is going to get the money that quote they deserve from the federal government to aid in the recovery of the affected locations.
Yeah, and the state was already approved for federal emergency status by Joe Biden
Yeah.
before the storm even hit.
Yeah, so that's pretty clockwork, I would say, conventional.
Yeah.
That the I mean that's what the federal government's for. It's what the local government's for. They're going to be pouring some money into these areas to help with rebuilding anything that was damaged. But overall, it seemed like it could have been a lot worse. We're pretty fortunate uh, that there wasn't that so far there hasn't been any casualties.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, we're gonna go into that a little bit more in depth whenever some more stuff comes up because I'm sure there will be more stuff on um, the plants in the area. Damaric actually, as a student from LSU and someone who is also a climate activist, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him that. I'm sure he wouldn't mind, but he is frequently looking at the plants in his area. He typically does research, and he has presented projects and research projects on interviewing like certain plant people from around there. So I might ask him to get some of that onto the show today.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yes, I need to actually get that from the interviews um, that he has with some of the like previous plant workers and like the damage the hurricanes did.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's not a whole lot more to cover on that. Um, I mean, it did what the hurricanes normally do, but just not as bad as it could have been, thankfully. So I think we should move on. We're going to change the topic a little bit to more of the plants and like global or climate issues. This one's more pertaining to Cameron Parish. One of the, it says the Venture Global. I'm assuming that's the company.
Yeah.
Venture Global recently donated $6 million, or they are donating $6 million over the next 3 years, um, to directly support public school teachers and staff in Cameron Parish. So that essentially means that their statement on it was that they're trying to give back to the community that's welcoming them there, which is by giving the public school. Let me reiterate: it's a public school funding, so that can come in. It's just whatever the public school is going to do with it. It's probably going to look like increase of teachers' wages, is what I understand.
Yeah,
From the
I think
article.
that's I don't know if it was just like a general grant, but it mentioned that it was mainly for teacher salaries.
Yeah. So, oh, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but we haven't said anything opinionated yet. I'll put it in the description too. But any and all opinions expressed today by me and Jackson are not held by Micah 68 Mission, nor are they affiliated with Micah 68 Mission. Do not take anything we say as an extension of Micah 68 Mission. Thank you. All right. So before we get into this, because we're about to start talking about me and Jackson's stuff, um, so there is, and this is me personally. I love it. My mom's a teacher, so when teachers get this kind of aid, I like it. And that's not just because my mom's a teacher, but I mean, I don't think it's like debatable. Teaching's a pretty essential job.
Yeah,
Um, because I mean, I'm not going to go too in depth into it, but having an educated society is better than not having.
makes the society better.
And as most of you know, and if you don't, let me tell you now, teaching is not the most cush job in terms of pay. Um, in most states, it's not even, if you have kids and you're teaching your single mom, it's pretty much over. You're going to have to work another job. So anytime teachers' wages are increased is a thumbs up from me. Do you want to say anything before we start really tearing into this, Jackson, on that?
Excuse me, goodness.
I don't want to move on while you still have a thought, maybe.
I mean, I don't really think there's much to elaborate on besides any opinion stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what I should say. So I like this. I like that they're doing this in a way because it's giving teachers more money, which is what they should have. They need a more
Yeah.
they need to have that money to live to support themselves because they're doing good work. But teaching is hard, dealing with all those kids, and it's necessary. So I am for increasing any teacher wages that we can. The problem that I'm saying here is I don't if any people who have watched the show before know that well the LNG plants aren't necessarily the best for sustainability reasons. No, the LNG in general, these are contributors to climate change. They're contributors to the air pollution. They're contributors to our water pollution. These are all things affecting Cameron Parish, Sulphur, pretty much our entire air, almost a very large radius. I looked at it earlier.
Yeah.
The reason I mentioned that is, firstly, this $6 million, and maybe this is ungrateful to a LNG company, is chump change. So what that tells me is
Especially over 3 years.
over 3 years, yeah, 6 million over 3 years. So do you,
2 million a year.
yeah, 2 million a year. That's all. That's all they can put back into the community that they're actively giving cancer.
I'm fairly certain their profits are allow for a much larger donation.
No, they. I mean, it certainly would. But the even beyond that, that's just the first point. The next point would be, I don't want the teachers' wages to be increased through the private sector.
Yeah, I mean they work at public institutions for a reason. It's supposed to be maintained by the federal government and only the federal government. There's a lot of problems that come up with private money being involved in our school systems. They can uh, push any sort of interests they have within the school, like any sort of pro LNG marketing at all, any sort of like thank you to our sponsors type situations. But it also allows the LNG companies to sort of entrench themselves within the community by uh, giving these teachers a living wage, or at least increasing their wage somewhat. Uh, it makes these teachers uh, sort of rely on that LNG company to, stick around and keep funding them.
Yeah,
Which, I mean, yeah,
I mean and there's no. It's not a secret that I mean this is like a tale as old as time. The money, big money, speaks like that. So this isn't just like the. I'm assuming this is not going to just be like the plant. Like oh we're epic and we're really nice. We're gonna give you some money. Like obviously that's gonna have that is it creates like it's coercive because they're going to if your only source of increasing your own income is through the private sector who has their own conflict of interest with the public because the LNG plants as an entity as a company do not have the same interests as the people living in Cameron and or Calcasieu or wherever it may happen, wherever else could be happening. I think it's only in Cameron right now. Um,
mm,
because if the people who are making your essential jobs have a decent wage are also the exact same industry that's tearing the planet apart and tearing a community apart. Well, I feel like I don't have to come to the logical conclusion of that sentence. It's pretty straightforward. So I think that on that note, it also is a way to get goody with people, buddy up with them, because people hear this, and I saw on Twitter a politician. I didn't know she was one of the representatives of like one of the districts in Louisiana. I didn't really care to mention her because it's a general thing, but she is posting about this like it's a win, which it is to some degree, but not in like it's certainly a way to capture people's attentions and be like, hey, look how good the plants are. They're giving us $6 million, which by the way, that's like nothing for them. It's just to work up people's approval. That's the way that I'm seeing it. It would just be to
Yeah.
work up people's approval so that they
I
vote
mean, like,
red.
yeah. I mean, it literally is simple as just calling it a PR stunt. Like that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I am happy that it will positively affect people's lives. I'm not going to
Yeah.
concede on,
But
or I'll concede on that.
yeah, what these benefits are good, but at what cost?
Yeah,
Where is this money coming from?
yeah. Take a step back and think about this from a long term perspective. This is this is an industry that scientifically, this is not a fact. This is not a debate. Is not a sustainable industry. This is not where you want to be putting your money if you're an investor. This
And
is
it's demonstrably harmful to the communities that it resides within.
it's not gonna work. So this kind of stuff is it's almost like grasping on like the edge of a cliff. Like they're not gonna be able to pull themselves up out of this if we keep marching forward as the future is. If we keep doing the same stuff, we're just gonna destroy
Yeah.
the climate. Um, I think that's just something you have to consider whenever you see stories like this. So I would be apprehensive to just give your vote to a red official because you think that, oh, look how good these people are supporting the LNG, which is supporting our teachers. I think it's a little slimy. Um, it's pretty, yeah, that's slimy way to do things. I don't like that. Um, I don't have a whole lot more to say about that though. Do you?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. I think we broke it down pretty well. Um, let's move on to our last one. So I'm gonna put this in the description, guys. If you want to go look at this yourself, it's a paper written. It said it was by about 60 scientists. These people with PhDs or whatever. They're all in the paper. You can get it as a PDF. All of the resources and their references are at the end of the document, so it's legit. You can check it out for yourself. It's essentially these scientists getting together and saying like, look, here's a bunch of indicators, different facets of the climate that we measure, and we're seeing which way are they going because they're kind of our pillars, like our keystones. So like if this starts doing this, we know, oh, this is a larger indicator of a bigger climate problem. That's kind of what they're saying. We're not going to go into the science of it. That's their job. We're not scientists on this. We just say what the scientists say because they're the scientists. Crazy. But essentially, and this is no surprise, all of those indicators that they're expressing are going in the bad direction because of climate change. And what I like about the article and what I wanted to get into today mostly was I liked because I mean what they're talking about isn't really anything I would guess like new per se. It is new. It is new because it's not just like global warming, which is why I encourage you to read it because it's a really long article. The part that stood out the most to me and the part that I wanted to cover the most was the recommendations of the scientists, not just like, hey guys, we should stop polluting, but they had a structural recommendation too, like pretty I don't want to use the word extreme, but maybe to some what would be a good word? Radical
Yeah, radical.
changes. Not radical like crazy, radical like it would be a very large leap to do
Yeah, but
it.
like structural, like baseline changes.
Yeah, so one central idea of the article is that a catalyst and almost the fault it is the fault of the hyper consumerism culture that exists in modern day the United States. So a large reason that these climate issues are happening is because companies, typically, any of your oil companies, your fossil fuel companies, from the way that business and economics has been nurtured throughout the past hundreds of years, it's incentivized growth, which at first wasn't huge, but as time developed, there was more and more incentive to grow and less reason to not exploit certain environmental conditions and people's working conditions to maximize profit. So, which is why we use the word over consumption. because it has gotten to a point in modern day where there's so much overconsumption that even in the climate today, being that the climate is climate change, that it's happening soon and it's the things we have to do about it need to happen fast. Even in that climate of urgency, of political and economic urgency, where we need to make these changes, there are companies who are the reason why we're in this situation, who are making more profits than they've ever made year on any other year. That's insane. So I mean, this is an opinion of the article, but it's an opinion that I also express myself, is that this is something that is systematic and very fundamentally structural that needs to be changed, because
Mhm.
this is a not only a culture, but it's the way that business is viewed, is to extract as much profit as you can. I don't want to talk your head off, Jackson. I
No, you're good.
yeah.
I mean, like,
I'm gonna let you butt in here. I know I'm taking all the mic room.
it's all right. I mean, it really is just that simple. Like, any sort of resource-based crisis we're having can be directly connected to the fact that that resource in particular is being exploited for profit in some way, whether it be like you said, the oil industry. Like, it is a clearly unsustainable model. We are well aware that there is a limited amount of this resource on Earth, and yet we are still exploiting it in a manner like exclusively just to reap a profit out of the business practice. And following this model, uh, when you making any sort of resource period profitable, it's just going to eventually cause these sustainability problems, not just for limited resources, but just for societal maintenance in general. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that that's a problem, and it's like right in front of our faces. It's not something that we have to even dig for at this point, because it's happening. We can see it when we walk outside in Sulphur. We see what's happening. We see how people are prioritizing profit incentives, and to not only make a profit, not only make a profit, but to maximize profit,
And
maximize at the
what
expense
really,
of anyone else, really.
yeah, and what really puts it into perspective that like this profit-based structure is very problematic is even in the face of overwhelming evidence that these practices are exceptionally unsustainable and dangerous if continued, they're still maintained and like heavily protected.
Yeah, almost
Even,
scarily
yeah.
so. Um, but not even on just the structural aspect of it, which is a kind of like capitalist way to interpret, or interpreting it, capitalism, the effects of capitalism on these businesses, or businesses made of like through capitalism. Another thing that I really really liked about the article, or whatever you would call it, the paper, was not only did they give a range for, it not being doomsday, right, for the climate indicators. But they also gave a recommended range for not only a climate where people who already have good material conditions and wealth can prosper, but a climate in which everyone can prosper, which is, I mean, saying it right now, obviously that's what the goal would be, but you'd be surprised. It is important. It is really important to understand these climate issues, not even just from your own, house and your own life and your family members, but to also think about it from a perspective of wealth and class, because at the end of the day, there is a range of these climate parameters that will be sustainable for people who have the means to move, who have the means to buy resources for themselves to sustain themselves, that is a not a majority of of the world population. It's
And
a
it
slim
only
majority or a slim
as
amount.
the yeah, and as the situation gets more dire, that group of people that are still going to be living just fine, it's going to only decrease. Like the barrier of entry is only going to get higher and higher and higher.
Yeah, so I think we need to seriously ask ourselves, looking around, seeing the amount of people who already do not have enough economic mobility to get into a better position, or mobility literally, they don't have cars, they don't have bikes. These types of things, we shouldn't be just looking out for the climate, for the future of society as a whole, but we need to be looking, well, we should, but looking out in the context of fixing the climate for people who can't help themselves. Because who else is going to do it for them? These are, I mean, the government, and I would hope that most humans listen to this in general would want to take care of each other. So this is a not just a me problem. This is a us problem. This is a problem for us to take care of our neighbors, our people who can't take care of themselves. They need people to take care of them in these times, and they need radical change. They need
Yeah.
systematic change in the way that we go about business. I think that most people just don't think that, like, I don't think that it's a common way to think about this kind of issue, because most people think that it'll happen slowly through legislation maybe, which is, I
Mhm.
mean, realistically that may be the way it has to. But to really understand like what necessities we need, what actual changes we need, they're big. This is not, I don't I don't think society is going to be recognizable. Um, give it like 100 years. I think that we're
Yeah,
going to
this
make
yeah,
some big
100 years for
changes.
sure. Whether that be from society not existing anymore or
Yeah,
it we finally managed to get past this problem,
yeah,
we
and
will
that's what I'm
see.
saying. When we if we solve this problem, we're not gonna be able to look back. Like, it's going to be a different way we did
It's a
things.
completely new phase of the human situation.
That's what that seems to be what these scientists are saying too. I agree, but these scientists seem to be expressing that themselves, that this is going to take a systemic change, the
Mhm.
way that we think about the economy, the way we think about any other structure, class structure. It's going to have to change if we want society to continue at least at the to sustain the growth we have
At the
made.
level of civility we
Yeah,
already
at the level
have.
of civility we have. Um, we are at 28 minutes, so we don't go over 30, so I want to start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that there's anything else for us to mention today.
Mhm.
No. I'm Yeah, that was the last story. Yeah, no, I hope that I see you guys at the community meal. I really hope I see a lot of you at the Health and Environment Summit. If you heard about it through this and you're going, please, I don't know, how are they going to contact me? Because I'm an ambassador, so I
Mhm.
need 10 people to go through me. So if you hear about it right now through me and you decide to go through me, then I'm pulling you in, and I'm counting you as my guy. I have like 7 people right now.
Just
Um,
come up to Brady at the summit.
at the summit and be like, hey, I'm here through you. I'm gonna be like, awesome. I'll give you a high five if you're into that. All right,
Or we're cutting
we're
it
at
close.
we're at 29 minutes. All right, guys, we're gonna see you Monday. I hope you have a good weekend. I hope anyone who was in the hurricane and is listening to this is okay. I hope all your stuff is okay. I hope you have insurance. All right, I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.
Bye.